Very good morning. In this session, I'm going to perform a task of backend part 3 configuration, that is Spring Boot configuration and user sign up. At the end of the session, student can able to know how to create a project structure and how to take the data from Spring Boot to the PostgreSQL, and they can able to validate that sign up data with the Swagger UI. So these are the requirements. They have to download the Eclipse. That is Eclipse or the Spring toolsuit, and we are going to use the Spring toolsuit here and Java. Let me tell you how to create a new starter project. First of all, you have to open your Spring toolsuit. Now go to File, New Spring Starter Project, and I'm just giving the name as a core services. Select the type as a Maven, packaging as var, Java version 17, languages Java. I just given the group name as mth followed by the package name also mth. Now click on next. I just want some dependency, that is Spring Web, Spring Boot DevTools, and PostgreSQL driver and Spring Data JPA. This PostgreSQL to connect with your Spring Boot with the PostgreSQL, Spring Data JPA to perform the database related operation, Spring Web and Spring DevTools for the APIs. Now you can click on finish. So now you see here there is a core services created. Let me open the pom.xml file to add more dependency. So the fourth line getting error, by removing this yes, the errors will be resolved. And I just want to add some more dependency here. So that is so that is JWT and JJWT Jackson and Spring Doc as well as starter mail. So these dependency I want whenever we performing, that is a validation part with the JWT web token. Let me copy this dependency and paste it. So I'll just start with these dependency. So where we can add now, so where before closing the dependency stack, let me add this dependency. Okay, so I just added this dependency. Whenever you are adding this dependency, or if you are doing any modification in the pom.xml, you must update the project. Go to Maven and start updating the project. You can click on force update. So okay, done. So now we will give the configuration of your backend. So that is you have a MySQL, so that is the PostgreSQL setup you have to do. So it just to open this application.property, where you need to give the configuration related to your databases. See, let me give this database configuration. So that is these this application will run over 8001. So you just mentioned server.port number 8001, and the PostgreSQL configuration, you just add the class name as the PostgreSQL.driver class, then data source URL as JDBC PostgreSQL localhost 5432 is the default port number, and mth is the schema name, where in my case I have given the username as the by default default username is postgres, password is I have given as a root, and under the JPA configuration we given Hibernate dialect. I'm just using PostgreSQL dialect. The meaning for this line is that, see, whenever the multiple databases we are using, so your queries will be adjusted automatically based on the what database you are using. So now DDL auto is updated, means that if you are doing any changes in the source code, then if you try to reindent the application, the older table won't delete. Instead, it will try to update the new table. And show SQL true in the sense the JPA queries can be visible in your command prompt. So that is the meaning of keeping this. So let me have I'm just using this one. Let me take this into the application properties. Okay, so I just have done it. So now we have completed it. So what we can do now, we can open the PG admin, and we'll be creating a we'll be creating the configuration. So that is this MTH database I want to create it in PostgreSQL. So first let me connect with the password. So here whatever password you are given, the same password to be reflected here also. So ensure the same. Now connect it. This root is the password. So okay, so now you see here in the database I want to create a new database schema. Create new, not a schema, create a database mtgh, which named as a mtgh. See, now you can see that there is a mtgh database created. If you can go to the schemas and check for these tables, you can see the table auto created, you can see in these tables. Okay, and I'll be just okay. So okay, just we will just minimize this one, and again we'll come back to your Spring Boot. And I just want to create the folder structure just to see what are the folder structure I'm going to create. Let me open the Spring Boot and go to src main Java. We already have the package called mtgh. I want to create the packages, four packages I want to create, namely controller, models, repository, and service. Go to go to this first package, that is controller. Just create the controller package, and similarly the next package is the models, whereas the third one is the repository, and the fourth one is services. Okay, I created these four different folders. Okay, so let me start create the user controller. So I want to create the files now. Let me right click new to in the package, that is controller package. Go to new class. So the class name is user. It's not a user controller. Let me create. So just right click new class. It is a user controller. Okay, similarly this model, go to model and go create a class. The model is users. Okay, so in the repository new, see, remember in the service, let me create service, new class. The service name is the users service. Similarly, for the repository, you should not create the class, it's an interface. You need to create an interface only. Let me go to interface. Then it is here, users repository. Users repository. Okay, so we just created. Now come to this controller. Come to this controller. See, remember, I want to make this class as a controller class. So I just want to add some annotation. So that is at the rate rest controller. Just to keep control space, and you can choose org.framework. Here this you have to take. So followed by to define the initial endpoint. I am just using at the rate request mapping. At the rate request mapping. Okay, and this request mapping, the base URL defines as slash user. Now inside our user controller, I want to create an object for the users service. See, remember, I think the user service naming, I just want to change it. So this user, yes, is small letter. Okay. So now you see, remember, for the service I want to create a, so let me copy from here only to avoid the issues. The naming I'm just copying. For this, I'm going to create one object. So let me keep this as a auto wire. Okay, so why I'm just keeping this auto wire in the sense, and so because this object will be automatically created. Now you see here user service, I just want to import. Keep your cursor over and click on import. So now the import is completed. So now let me create here a new function. So that is public object sign up, where so it takes the value through the request body because the request coming from the front end. So let me have it as request body, and see, don't select the first one, the second one, that the request body ought to select. Okay, so followed by the, it is users. So the entity table is the users, where the object name I am just making this as a u. Now we should return what I want to return. Return this this object, that is user service object dot sign up. Okay, and you can directly pass this argument. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so return. See, this line you are getting some issue sign up, so it will be resolved whenever you are adding this function into the user service. Okay, now this is completed. Now let me go to the next the models. Let me complete these models. Go to this users.java, and to make this class as the entity class, I just add the annotation at the rate entity. Okay, so then at the rate table, and the next I just want to define the column names. The first column name is the long as the data type, id is the column name, followed by string full name, then string phone, then string email, then string password, followed by int role, then int status. Okay, so totally 7 fields we need. So I want to make this id as a primary key, so I'm just adding this annotation at the rate id. Okay, so just import this, and followed by I want to generate this id automatically. So like generated, there is one more thing called there, one more method is there, generated value, where we can include the strategy. So strategy equal to generation type dot identity. Okay, so by just adding this line, what happens now, automatically this id will be generated and this will act as a primary key. Okay, and this email id field I want to add a constraint. So I want to add this constraint. The constraint is that it should be like a unique. Okay, I just added this constraint. So we have completed it. Now I want to generate the setters and getters for all these data members. Just to right click here, go to source, and generate setters and getters, select all the fields and click on generate. So automatically the related setters and getters is set. So the setters and getters is important when you're performing. Like if you want to push anything to the database, set operation will work. Get for the read. Okay. So now comes to this user service. We already created one sign up function here. For that, I need to write a logic, business logic into the user service.java. Okay. So now to make this class as a service class, I just want to add the annotation first, that is service annotation. Okay, first thing I want to add this annotation. See now, as usual, so the service class is directly connected with the users repository. So for the users repository, so this is the file I want to create a object for that. Then I'm just auto airing this. Why I want to do auto airing means for the dependency injection purpose. Okay, so now we'll uh, write the business logic for this signer. So let me take public object signup and uses u. So u is the object. Okay, see, remember here you just want to import it, click on import. Okay, so I hope the import is completed. Okay, see now what I want to do now, so let me have one more interface, so that is map interface. So that is map, which will be taking two things. One is string, another one is the object. Okay, so the purpose of this map is that it will be returning two things. One is a code as well as the message. Code is in the form of string and the message in the form of the object. Okay, so response as the object name equal to new hash map. Okay, done it. So this map I want to import it. Just to click on this util and the hash map also, just util. Okay, now done it. So let me add one try block to write the logic now, where object id is equal to, see, what I want to do is whenever the sign up detail comes, I just want to verify that email id with the existing database. If the email id is already available, I just want to return that email id already exists. If not, I just proceed to save that email id into the database. So that is the logic. So I want to get the id. For that, I want to write one logic to check the email. So that is id you want to get it, then I have to check it. Okay, so now let me take this ur. So ur user repository we already created. Check by email, check by email. So this is the method where you dot get email. So let me repeat the purpose. See, the output of this get email is that whatever the email id you have entered, that email id which will comes here. So that is the argument now. Now check email is the one function where you have to write it in the user repository, and what it will return, this will return the id, which means that for the email id, if there is any unique id is present, which means that the id is already there in the database. So that is the simple logic. Okay, so it is getting error in this line. So this will be resolved whenever you are adding this function into the user repository. Okay, so now let me check the condition, that is id not equal to null. So whenever the id is not is equal to null, then response dot put off. The first part is the code, which will return the code as 501 something, and next one response dot put off the message. the email ID already registered. So now we'll write the else part. If not, what? So let me take this the same object, that is u dot set role. So in that case, I want to set the role, that is, so this, see, whenever the email ID is not present, so then I want to set these roles as a default role, as the user role, and the status is active. So that is set status also 1. And after that, with the help of this ur dot save, I want to perform the JPA insert process, and whatever the object is there, I want to save it into the database. So now response dot put. So now the code, just to take the code as 200. Now again, so it's not response, it is a response. Okay, response dot put of the message is message. Okay, so the message, what I want to tell is user account has been created. Okay, I just done it. Okay, so here, if you can adjust it. So the if condition, see, closing is, it is important way we are just closing. Okay, so now I just want to add one catch block, catch of exception e. So here response dot put off, if there is any errors, that also to be handled. So that is code, I want to keep it as some 500. Similarly, response dot put off the message. So the message is, so that is e dot get message, of. Okay, so that's it, we have completed. And finally I just want to return the response, return the response object. And I hope all the errors were resolved now, except the save method. So why I am getting this error in the save method means the repository I didn't create it, I want to create this repository. Okay, so now let me go to this repository now. Okay, go to repository. To make these interface as the repository, add this repository annotation. Just add the annotation, followed by, after this user repository, add extends keyword, extend JPA repository. So it will be asking two things. First, T indicates, here you need to give that entity class name, that is user. Make sure that it should be imported properly. Now this ID, here you need to provide the data type of the primary key. So in this users.java, the data type is the, this is the long is the data type of the primary key. So let me take this and provide this long. Okay, see, now I want to write one query. I'll just show you the query what you have to write. See, the query is very simple. See, first I just want to write this check by email function. So that is public. I want to return as object check by email. So this email function we already defined here. So it is passing the email ID as the parameter. Okay, check by email, and at the rate param. Okay, so at the rate param where now email, and it is string data type. Let me have as email. Okay, so now what happens now, whenever you are just passing the email ID, the control comes here. Okay, so email ID, these with this email variable, it is there. We are just assigning the same into another variable called email. Now I want to write a query, so I'll just to show you how to write the query. At the rate query. Okay, so at the rate query, so I just want to write the query now. So that is within double quotes, keep it, select u dot id, from uses u, where u dot email equal to colon email. So that's it. So this is the query. So let me repeat the purpose of this. See what happens now, the this check by email function which will return this id, that is unique id of that particular email id. Whatever the email id you are passing from the front end, for that id will be returned. And so this left hand side portion, that is u dot email, so that which mean that the email available in the database, that will be verified with the email id what you are passing through the front end. Okay, so that's it, we have completed everything. Now what I want to do now, just to go to this core services, and just to select this run and run this Spring Boot app. So okay, so we have completed everything, and you can see that our application will run over 8001, this port number. Okay, so we already completed. Now let me go to this pg admin, whether this table created or not. Just a database, just to go to refresh and go to this empty gauge table and go to this table now. See that there is a user table now created. Okay, so constant created, let me check it now. Go to, just click on this empty gauge and go to this query tool and give select star from users. Let me run it, and you can see that the structure is now created. Okay, so now with this Swagger UI, I am going to try to insert a data. So let me tell you how to open this Swagger UI. And there are two things you can do. Either you can open the Postman and you can run the application, and if you want to see the same with the Swagger UI, so this is the URL. So that is localhost colon, so that is 8001 slash Swagger UI slash index.html. So now you can see that okay, this Swagger UI is not coming. So because I just want to add one thing in the controller. So just to go back to the controller and just to add this post mapping to clearly define the endpoint. So just to add slash sign up now. Okay, we added the sign up. So this endpoint clearly. Now you just right click, go to run and Spring Boot app. Okay, so now you can, so this port number already defining. So if you are getting such issue, just to click here, click on this core services, and you can just to turn off the existing port number like this, and again you can rerun the application. Okay, so now you can see that the application is running over the port number. Okay, so now just to go back, like localhost port 8001 slash wagyu index.html, you can find this post method to verify your user inputs. Okay, so now click on this post, and here let me try to click try out. See here, so by default, whenever you are trying to give this sample, you'll be getting something called this ID as well as status also exist. So here you can able to find something called ID. So I am just let me reset and I'll show you. See here, if I click on the tryout now, okay. See, this ID is not required. You just delete this, and this role and status will be set based on what are the input you are passing. Okay, let me delete this also. So now in the full name, I'm giving my name, and so the phone number. Okay, so this ensure that it's a key value pair. Give the data properly. Then the email ID Sridhar@gmail.com. Okay, password 1234, and remember, don't give this that is a semicolon at the end, so comma at the end. Okay, so now it is ready. Full name, phone number, email ID, and the password. Now try to execute. See, now what the response I'm getting is, this is the endpoint localhost colon 8001 slash user slash sign up, where the code is 200 and the message is user account has been created successfully. Now let me open the pg admin. We already have this structure. Now again click give select star from users and try to run it, and your data is now been added. Okay, so now if I am doing the same step again, that is, if I try to execute the same schema again, what will happen now? These will be verifying this email ID. This will return that the email ID is already exists. Now see here, if I try to execute, and I'm getting the code as 501 and the message is the email ID already registered. Okay, so now we just completed the task, that is at the end at these what the outcome we are defined, these outcome we successfully achieved, and our data successfully recorded into the database. Thank you.